Welcome to session one of your Microsoft Copilot training, and I am genuinely excited you're here. This session is called What is All of This? And I want you to know that title is completely intentional because the first time most coaches open Copilot, that is exactly what they think. There's a sidebar, there's a chat box, there's a create button, and somehow the tutorial they found online looks completely different from their screen. And they don't know where to start. By the end of this session, you're going to have a clear, confident map of the whole interface. You'll know what every item does. You'll understand why Copilot looks different depending on who you are and how you're signed in. And most importantly, you'll have written your first real prompts you could actually use this week in your coaching business. That's the goal. Let's get into it. Let me start with the single most important thing I can tell you, because this one insight is going to save you a lot of frustration. If you've ever tried to follow along with a Copilot tutorial and your screen looked completely different from theirs, you are not doing something wrong. You are not missing something. There is a very specific reason that happens, and it comes down to three things. Reason number one, there are actually three completely different products that Microsoft calls Copilot. Same name, three different experiences. You might be looking at one, a tutorial might be showing you another, and they genuinely look and work differently. Reason number two, if your Microsoft account is connected to an employer, a university, or any organization, their IT team controls what features you can see. Features that someone else has access to might be completely hidden in your version, not because they don't exist, but because someone turned them off. And reason number three, your license tier matters. And there's a free version of Copilot, there's a Microsoft 365 version, and there's a Copilot Premium version. Each one unlocks different capabilities. Here's the good news. By the end of today, you'll know exactly which version you have, why it looks the way it does, and most importantly, what you can do with it right now. That confusion, it ends today. Okay, let's clear up the biggest source of confusion first, the three Copilots. Number one is Copilot Chat. This is the standalone version. You open your browser, go to copilot.microsoft.com, and it's right there. No app to install, no special setup, just a website. The best way I can describe it for coaches, think of it like having a brilliant business partner available 24/7 for free. You type what you need, draft an email to a client, prep questions for a discovery call, write a caption for Instagram, and it responds in seconds. You can go back and forth like a conversation. It remembers what you said earlier in the same session. This is what today's session is entirely about. Copilot Chat, your browser, copilot.microsoft.com. That's your home base. Number two is Copilot inside your apps. This is different from the standalone version. This is a button that appears right inside Microsoft Word, Microsoft Outlook, or Microsoft Teams. While you're writing a proposal in Word, there's a Copilot button you can click, and it helps you right there without switching windows or opening anything else. Think of it as a helper that lives inside the tools you already use. This one requires a Microsoft 365 subscription, and we cover it in session two. Number three is Copilot Studio. This is not for coaches in day-to-day use. This is a developer tool for building custom AI workflows. Think of it like the engine room of a ship. Important, powerful, and you don't need to be there. We'll mention it once more and then it won't come up again in this program. So to be completely clear, today is about number one, Copilot Chat. Open your browser and let's go. All right, let's look at what you'll actually see when you log in. I want to walk through every part of this screen so nothing is a mystery. When you open Copilot, you'll see a dark sidebar on the left. This is your navigation menu. The items in it, chat, create, notebook, agents, pages, are the different modes or tools available to you. We're going to go through each one in detail in just a moment. On the right side by the main area, you'll see a welcome message and a text box at the bottom. That's where you type your requests. You might also see some suggested prompts, things like draft a client email or prep for a discovery call. Those are just shortcuts to help you get started. You can ignore them and type whatever you want. One thing I want to name up front, because I'd rather you hear it from me than be confused by it later. Depending on how you're signed in, your sidebar might look slightly different from what I'm showing you here. You might have more items, you might have fewer. Some things might not be visible at all. That is completely normal, and the next slide explains exactly why. For now, just get the big picture. Dark sidebar on the left, main conversation area on the right. That's Copilot. Let's look at each of those sidebar items one by one. The first item in the sidebar is chat. And for coaches, this is your home. This is where you'll spend probably 90% of your time in Copilot. Chat works exactly like sending a voice note to a very smart business partner, except you type it. You describe what you need in plain everyday English. No special commands, no technical language, no code, just what do you need? Here's what makes it powerful for coaching businesses specifically. Everything in your practice involves communication and content, client emails, follow ups, session notes, proposals, social posts, program outlines. And Copilot can draft all of it instantly from a one sentence description. Let me give you a real example. Imagine you've just finished a great first session with a new client. You want to send them a warm follow up that recaps what they shared and confirms their action item for the week. That email used to take you 10 minutes to write because you wanted to get the tone just right. With Copilot, you type, write a warm follow up email to a coaching client who just completed their first session. Recap the 3 key insights they shared and confirm their action item for this week. 10 seconds later, you have a beautifully written draft. Or maybe a client sends you a long intake form before your first session. Instead of reading through 15 pages of answers and trying to spot the themes yourself, you paste it into chat and say, summarize the key themes from this intake form and flag anything that might need extra attention in our first session. Done. You've already done your prep and you haven't even opened a document. Chat is where coaching business gets done faster. That's your starting point. The second item in the sidebar is create. And this one is primarily for generating images using AI. Here's how it works. You describe what you want in plain English, and Copilot creates a visual for you. Create a warm, professional image for a post about overcoming self-doubt. Use a teal and white color palette with a modern coaching aesthetic, and it generates something you can download and use. Now, I want to be honest with you about this one. For coaches who are running their own business, Create is actually more useful than it might initially sound, even though it's not the tool you'll use most often. Think about how much visual content you need just to run a coaching business. Instagram posts, LinkedIn graphics, workshop slide covers, lead magnet PDF covers, webinar promotional banners, course thumbnail images. If you're currently doing all of that yourself in Canva or paying a designer for every little thing, Create can fill some of those gaps quickly and for free. You're not going to use Create instead of a professional designer for your brand identity, but for quick, good-looking visuals that match a general aesthetic, it's a solid tool to have in your back pocket. So think of Create as your on-demand visual assistant, not your primary working space, but genuinely useful when you need something visual and don't have time to build it from scratch. Number 3 in the sidebar is Notebook, and I call this the hidden gem of Copilot because most people walk right past it and they're leaving a lot of value on the table. Notebook works like chat, but it's specifically designed for longer, more complex work. Here's the key difference. In regular chat, there's a practical limit to how much text you can work with at once. Notebook removes that barrier. You can paste in a full client intake form, a business plan your client wants you to review, a complete program outline you're developing, a long email thread, and then have a full conversation about it. Let me give you a coaching specific scenario. You have a new client who runs their own business, and before your first session, they've shared their business plan, a 30-page document. They want your help thinking through their strategy. Instead of you spending an hour reading and annotating it before the call, you paste the entire document into Notebook and you say, analyze this business plan, identify their top 3 strengths, the biggest gaps or blind spots, and the single most important thing we should focus on in our first session. Copilot reads the entire document and gives you a focused, structured response in about 30 seconds. You walk into that first session already knowing exactly what matters most. That's a completely different level of preparation. And it took you seconds instead of an hour. Notebook is also fantastic when you're developing your own program content and you need Copilot to follow a very detailed creative brief. If you want it to match a specific structure, tone, or framework, Notebook gives you the space to lay all of that out up front. If chat is for quick conversations, Notebook is for deep work. Keep it in mind anytime you're dealing with long documents or complex structured tasks. Number 4 in the sidebar is agents. And this one is a bit different because what you see here will vary depending on how your Microsoft account is set up. Agents are pre-built AI assistants that have been trained for a specific purpose. Think of them like specialized team members. One agent might be trained on your coaching methodology and your most frequently asked questions. So when a prospective client asks, "How does your program work?" it can answer in your voice from your information. Another might be set up as an onboarding assistant that walks new clients through your intake process step by step. The important distinction here: the agents that appear in your sidebar right now are either pre-built by Microsoft for general use, or if your account is connected to an organization, ones that the organization has set up. As a solo coach on a personal account, you'll likely see the Microsoft Public Library of Agents, which covers things like research, writing, and productivity. What's coming in session 5 is where it gets really exciting for coaches. We're going to build a custom agent together, one that knows your coaching program, your methodology, your voice, and your common client questions. An agent that you can share with prospects and clients as a genuine tool in your practice. For today, just get familiar with what agents are. If you see some in your sidebar when you log in, click around and explore what they do. If you don't see much, that's fine. The best one for your coaching business doesn't exist yet. We're going to build it. This brings us to the slide that answers the question once and for all: why does my Copilot look different from what someone else has? Here's the full picture. When you sign into Copilot, what you see depends on two things: your license tier and your account type. If you're a solo coach using a personal Microsoft account, the kind you set up yourself with your own email, you'll generally see the most open, full-featured version of Copilot Chat. Web browsing on, image creation available, notebook accessible, the public agents library. That's the version I'm showing throughout this training. If your account is connected to an employer, a university, or any kind of organization, you're in a different situation. Their IT administrator has a control panel where they decide exactly what Copilot features are available, and they may have turned things off for security, compliance, or policy reasons. Features that exist and work perfectly well might simply be invisible to you because someone in IT said, "Not in this environment." What this means in practice: if something I show you in this training isn't visible in your Copilot, don't panic and don't assume something is broken. It may have been restricted by your organization. The right move is to check with your IT administrator or to experiment with signing in using a personal Microsoft account to see whether more features become available. The one thing that should be accessible to everyone, regardless of account type or license: chat. That's your foundation. That's where we start. And honestly, that's where the most useful work happens anyway. Everything else is an enhancement on top of that. If you're unsure what you have access to, spend 5 minutes after this session clicking through your sidebar. What you see is what you've got, and we'll work with exactly that. All right. Now that you know your way around the interface, let's get to the part that matters most. What can you actually do with this in your coaching business? Because knowing what Copilot is, that's useful. But knowing how to use it for specific coaching tasks this week, that's what makes today worth your time. I'm going to walk you through 5 use cases that are directly relevant to running a coaching practice. These aren't theoretical examples. These are things you could try today in the next hour using prompts you're going to see right on the screen. 5 use cases. Let's go through them. Use case number 1, email. I start here because email is universal. You know, every coach is writing emails every single day: client follow-ups, discovery call invitations, proposal emails, re-engagement messages to clients who've gone quiet, onboarding emails for new clients, check-ins mid-program. Each one of those takes time, and each one is slightly different, which means you can't just copy and paste the same template every time. You're always making adjustments, the tone, the context, the specific details. Copilot changes this. Instead of starting from a blank screen and trying to find the right words, you tell Copilot what you need in one sentence, and it drafts it for you. Here's one of the most common ones: the post-session follow-up email. You've just had a great first session with a client. You want to send something that feels warm and personal, not like a generic template. You type, "Write a warm follow-up email to a coaching client who just completed their first session. Recap the 3 key insights they shared and confirm their action item for this week." Copilot writes it in about 3 seconds. You read it, you might adjust a phrase or add a detail that was specific to your conversation, and you're done. Something that used to take 10 minutes is now 30 seconds.
The second email use case is writing proposals and outreach. If you have a potential client who filled out your discovery form, you can paste in what they wrote and say, write a professional but warm email to this potential client. They're a mid level manager wanting to move into leadership. Include why coaching can help, what our discovery call will cover, and a clear call to action to book using my link. Keep it under 200 words. You get a fully written outreach email tailored to that person's situation every time without staring at a blank screen. Start with email. This is where coaches see results the fastest. Use case number 2, client sessions. For coaches, there are two sides to every client session: the preparation before the call and the follow up after. Copilot can save you meaningful time on both. Let's start with before. Imagine you have a discovery call tomorrow with a potential client who's a mid level manager looking to transition into an executive leadership role. You know the topic, but you want to go in with really sharp coaching questions, not generic ones. You tell Copilot, I have a discovery call tomorrow with a potential client who is a mid level manager wanting to transition to executive leadership. Help me prepare 5 coaching questions and a 1 paragraph opener. In about 30 seconds, you have a set of thoughtful, targeted questions. Things like asking about what's driving the desire to move up, what they see as their biggest barrier, what success looks like in 2 years, and a warm, confident opener you can use to start the call. You're walking into that discovery call prepared, focused, and calm. Now, for the other side, analyzing what a client brings you. A lot of coaches send their clients intake forms before the first session. Those forms can be long and 10, 15, sometimes 20 questions. Instead of spending an hour reading and synthesizing the answers on your own, you paste the whole intake into Copilot and say, summarize the key themes from this client intake form and flag any areas that might need extra attention in our first session. Now, Copilot reads all of it and gives you the key themes, like what this person is really about, what they're worried about, where the energy is. You go into session 1 already knowing what matters most to this client. That's a significantly different quality of preparation than wading through the answers cold. Prep before, synthesize after. These 2 habits alone can save coaches an hour or more per week. Use case number 3, content creation. This one is big for coaches because content is how you build visibility, attract clients, and demonstrate your expertise. Blog posts, newsletter issues, Instagram captions, LinkedIn posts, course modules, email sequences, webinar scripts. The list of content a coaching business needs is genuinely enormous. And the dirty secret? Most coaches don't produce nearly as much content as they know they should, because creating it from scratch is time consuming and often feels hard. You sit down to write a post and either nothing comes or you write 3 drafts and none of them feel right. Copilot changes the game here. Not because it replaces your voice or your expertise, it doesn't, but because starting from a draft is 10 times faster than starting from blank. Let's say you want to write an Instagram caption about overcoming imposter syndrome. Instead of staring at a blank caption box, you type, write a 150-word Instagram caption for a post about overcoming imposter syndrome. Tone, warm, direct, empowering. Include a call to action to book a discovery call. You get a well-written caption in about 5 seconds. You read it, add a personal anecdote or a specific phrase that sounds more like you, and you're done. Something that might have taken 30 minutes of blank screen frustration takes 2 minutes. For longer content and say a blog post, you give it more context. Write a 400-word blog post for executive coaches. Topic: why high performers secretly struggle with imposter syndrome even after getting promoted. Tone: credible, empathetic, actionable. End with a soft call to action. Full first draft in 10 seconds. You refine it, add your own examples, make it sound like you, and publish. Coaches who use Copilot for content go from posting once a month to posting multiple times a week. That's a real business outcome. Use case number 4, research. Think of Copilot like a very well-read colleague you can ask anything at any hour without worrying about interrupting their day. For coaches, research has 2 main use cases. The first is understanding your client's world more deeply. The best coaches don't just ask good questions, they walk into sessions with real context about what their client is navigating. If your client is a healthcare executive, you want to understand what healthcare leaders are dealing with right now. If your client runs a technology startup, you want to understand the specific pressures founders face at that stage. Copilot helps you build that context quickly. Before a session, you ask, give me a plain English overview of the challenges mid level managers typically face when transitioning into executive leadership. What are the common blockers? What are the emotional dynamics involved? And what separates the people who make the transition well from those who struggle? You get a rich, nuanced briefing that you can read in 5 minutes and walk into that session with far more informed questions than you would have otherwise. The second research use case is building program content. If you're developing a coaching curriculum or a signature framework, Copilot helps you research what already exists, identify the relevant frameworks, and structure your thinking. You ask, I'm building a 6 week executive coaching program. Create a module outline for week 3 on managing up and stakeholder influence. Include learning objectives, 3 key frameworks, 2 reflection exercises, and a homework assignment. You get a structured starting point in 30 seconds. You add your own expertise, your own examples, your own voice. And what would have taken you a full afternoon of planning takes 20 minutes. One important note on research: always verify anything you're going to present as fact, especially data, statistics, or industry specific claims. Copilot is excellent for orientation and structure, but for anything with legal, regulatory, or compliance implications, check the primary source directly. Use case number 5, presentations. Nobody loves building presentations from scratch. You know the feeling. You open a blank PowerPoint, you stare at the first slide, and you just don't know where to start. What's the structure? How many slides? What goes in what order? What do I actually say on each one? Copilot removes that paralysis entirely. Here's how it works for a coaching context. Let's say you want to build a 60-minute workshop called From Burnout to Breakthrough for corporate teams. Instead of starting with a blank slide, you tell Copilot, create a PowerPoint outline for a 60-minute workshop called From Burnout to Breakthrough for corporate teams. Include an opening hook, 4 content sections with key points, 1 group activity, and a strong close. For each slide, give me a title and 3 bullet points. Copilot gives you the full outline, every slide, every title, every bullet. You copy it into PowerPoint, apply your branding, add your own examples, and you're ready. The hardest part of building a presentation, figuring out the structure and what to say, is done in about a minute. And once you have your slides, Copilot can write your talking points. Say you're presenting at a corporate wellness conference, you type, write a speaking proposal for a corporate wellness conference. My talk is called Leading Without Burning Out: What High Performers Do Differently. Include a compelling 150-word talk description, 3 key audience outcomes, and a 100-word speaker bio for an executive and career coach. You have a polished, professional proposal ready to submit. What would have taken you an afternoon of writing and second guessing takes 15 minutes. For coaches who do any kind of workshop, delivery, group programs, or speaking, this is a genuine game changer. Okay, this is the most important skill I'm going to teach you today, and I promise it's not complicated, but it makes an enormous difference in the quality of what you get back from Copilot. Here is the truth about why most people get mediocre results from AI tools. They ask vague questions, and vague questions get vague answers. Copilot is extraordinarily capable, but it can only work with what you give it. The better your prompt, the better your result. Full stop. Here is the 4-part formula that will immediately level up everything you do in Copilot. Part 1, role. Tell Copilot who to be. Start with, act as an expert copywriter for coaching businesses. Or, you are a seasoned executive coach who specializes in leadership transitions. Or, you are a marketing strategist who works exclusively with solo service business owners. This one instruction shapes the tone, the vocabulary, the perspective, and the judgment of everything that follows. It's like briefing a consultant on their role before you ask them to do anything. Part 2, task. Be very specific about what you want, not write an email. Write a 150-word warm follow-up email, not help me with my Instagram. Write a caption about overcoming imposter syndrome that ends with a call to action to book a discovery call. Specificity is the difference between something you can use and something you have to rewrite completely. Part 3, context. Give Copilot the background it needs to get this right. My client is a mid-level manager transitioning into executive leadership. My audience is coaches who are not technical. The tone should be warm, direct, and empowering. Think of me as a trusted friend who also happens to be an expert. Context transforms a generic response into something that actually sounds like it was written for your specific situation. Part 4, format. Tell it exactly how you want the result to look. Format as a bulleted list. Keep it under 200 words. Use a subject line, a greeting, 3 short paragraphs, and a sign off. Write it as a table with 3 columns. Format instructions stop Copilot from giving you a 5-paragraph essay when you wanted a quick checklist. Role, task, context, format. Use even 2 or 3 of these parts in every prompt, and you will notice an immediate and significant improvement in quality. Let's try it right now. This is the most important part of today's session and the most fun. We're going hands-on right now. If you haven't opened it yet, open your browser and go to copilot.microsoft.com. We're going to try 3 prompts together. They're designed to be immediately useful for your coaching business, not practice exercises, but actual tasks you might do this week. Prompt 1 is a client email. Paste this into chat. Write a warm follow-up email to a coaching client who just completed their first session. Recap the 3 key insights they shared and confirm their action item for this week. Notice how specific that is. You've told Copilot the relationship, coaching client, the timing, first session, what to include, 3 insights, 1 action item, and the tone, warm. Hit send and watch what it produces. The first time most coaches do this, there's a moment of, wait, that's actually really good. Let yourself have that moment. It's allowed. Prompt 2 is session prep. This is one you can use before literally every discovery call from now on. Type, I have a discovery call tomorrow with a potential client who is a mid-level manager wanting to transition to executive leadership. Help me prepare 5 coaching questions and a 1-paragraph opener. Read what comes back. You'll likely get 5 thoughtful questions. Things about their motivation, their timeline, their sense of their own readiness, plus a warm opener you can genuinely use to start the call. How long would that have taken you to write from scratch? Probably 30 minutes. It just took 30 seconds. Prompt 3 is content. Type, write a 150-word Instagram caption for a post about overcoming imposter syndrome. Tone, warm, direct, empowering. Include a call to action to book a discovery call. What you get is a full publishable draft. Read it. If it doesn't quite sound like you, tell Copilot. Make it sound a bit less formal or add something about the high-achieving women I work with. It adjusts. That's the whole point. It's a conversation, not a one-shot tool. You can keep refining until it sounds exactly right. Try all 3, then try your own version of any of them. This hands-on time is the most valuable part of today. Before we close, I want to make sure 3 key ideas really stick, because everything in sessions 2 through 6 builds on exactly these 3 things. I'm going to say them, and I want you to actually hear them land. Number 1, there are 3 copilots. Copilot chat at copilot.microsoft.com. That's the standalone browser version, and that's your home base. Copilot inside your apps, Word, Outlook, Teams, more powerful, and we get there in session 2, Copilot Studio, not for coaches, in regular use. Don't worry about it. Today you learn chat. Start there. Number 2, your account type controls what you see. If you're on a personal Microsoft account, you'll likely have access to the full feature set. If your account is connected to an employer or organization, some features may be restricted. That's a policy decision made by someone in IT. Not a malfunction, not something you did wrong. If you're missing features you need, the 2 options are ask your IT administrator or try signing in with a personal Microsoft account. Number 3, be specific, get better results. Role plus task plus context plus format. That's the formula. Vague questions get vague answers. The more you tell Copilot about who the output is for, what tone it should have, how long it should be, and what format you want, the more useful the result. This is a skill, and like any skill, you get better at it every time you use it. And here's your homework before session 2. Use Copilot for 1 real task in your coaching business this week, not a practice exercise, a real task, a client email you need to write, a discovery call you need to prep for, an Instagram caption you've been putting off. Try it, then bring back what happened, what worked, what surprised you, what didn't quite land the way you expected. That's exactly how we make session 2 more useful for you specifically. You have completed session 1, and I want you to take a moment to acknowledge what you've done today. You came in with a fuzzy idea of what Copilot is, and you're leaving with a clear map of the entire interface. You know the three Copilots, you know why your version might look different from someone else's. You've toured every item in the sidebar: chat, create, notebook, agents. You know the four-part prompt formula. And you've written your first real prompts for real coaching tasks. That is a complete foundation. Everything we do in the rest of this program builds on exactly what you did today. In session 2, we're going inside Microsoft 365. We're going to look at Copilot in Outlook, drafting client emails and managing your inbox right inside Outlook without switching to another tab, Copilot in Word, getting help with proposals, program outlines, and client documents while you're working on the document itself. The experience is different from standalone chat, and for coaches who live in Microsoft 365, it's a significant upgrade. Between now and then, use it. Open Copilot chat, try a real prompt from your business, and notice what happens. Bring your wins, bring your "it didn't quite work the way I expected" moments. Both are valuable, both are how we get better. Thank you for being here today. You've taken a real first step, and I will see you in session 2.